I saw the hell that would someday be mine, that led to all the others. What was the point of you? No, of me surviving that hell? Why were we spared?
Shirou Emiya, the man who somehow walks away from life-threatening disasters more times than he's pulled women with his cooking. And trust me, that's saying something. I mean, look at this. They're reacting like they're in food wars. Of course people think he only survives because of plot armor. But he doesn't. And don't bring up Rin reviving him in the first episode, or Archer giving him his arm, or surviving an explosion by putting his soul in a puppet. But really, that's not plot armor. Shirou doesn't survive because the story protects him. He survives because this is one of the few timelines where every condition lines up perfectly. And most of the time, it doesn't. To know for a fact if Shirou has plot armor, we have to actually define it. Because people throw that word around more than Richard does with Excalibur. Oxford's English Dictionary defines it as the capacity to survive life-threatening situations, often to an implausible extent, simply because the narrative requires it. In other words, the story bends the rules so the main character doesn't die. And if you look at Fate from far away, yeah, it might look like Shirou's plot armor. He's not a top-tier mage, he's not born special, he's not some chosen one, and for most of the story he sucks at magecraft. So when he survives getting impaled by countless heroic spirits, or fighting literal demigods, or escaping from Berserker for the millionth time, people go, yeah, okay, that's plot armor for sure. But plot armor means the story bends the rules for the main character. And Fate never bends the rules for Shirou. That's brutally consistent. He survives because of specific artifacts, contracts, and insane personal costs that he has to incur. And when those things don't line up, he dies. A lot. Like 40 plus bad endings a lot. Shirou doesn't have plot armor. He has a lot of prerequisites stacked together. And the biggest condition of all? Let's start with the biggest one. The sheath of Excalibur that was embedded in his body and introduced in Fate Zero. Before Shirou was even the protagonist, Kiritsugu implanted the sheath inside of him after the Fuyuki fire to save his life. And not for some random reason either, but because Shirou was the one thing holding him together in that moment. That's a literal divine artifact embedded into his body. And it does three important things. It massively accelerates his healing, it synchronizes with Saber specifically, and it only works properly when Saber is contracted. When Saber's around, Shirou regenerates from injuries that would kill a normal person. But when she's not, he's just a crazy redhead that wants to bone his swords. Avalon doesn't activate because the plot needs him alive. It activates because it's physically inside him and a bunch of requirements are already fulfilled. And the second Saber's gone, that advantage disappears completely. In Heaven's Feel, once Saber's out of the picture, Shirou stops surviving comfortably. He starts breaking, bleeding, and burning his circuits alive. That's not plot armor. That's a mechanic with a dependency clause. And even then, Avalon doesn't protect him from the consequences. It just delays them. He still feels the pain from it and accumulates damage. And he still dies in the bad endings constantly. Avalon isn't bending the story. It's the story using something established 10 years prior in the timeline. So no, he doesn't survive because he's the main character. He survived because he has a literal divine artifact embodied into his soul. Alright, now let's move on to Unlimited Blade Works. My personal favorite route and where most people scream plot armor the loudest. I mean, how does Shirou survive against servants and beat the future version of himself and the literal king of heroes? And it's true that at the start of Unlimited Blade Works, Shirou wasn't strong. He was reckless, had no bitches, and had the magical output of a microwave. And because of that, Saber was never at her full potential. But every time he clashes with Archer, he gains some of his memories and abilities. Archer is literally a future version of him. Same origin, same magic, same internal world. When they fight, Shirou's circuits begin aligning with Archer's, kinda like when Shirou Emiya transferred with Saber. Kinda. And even then, he doesn't instantly become broken. He gets stabbed, outclassed, and loses repeatedly. But by the time he stands in front of Gilgamesh, two things are true. He now understands how to use Unlimited Blade Works, and Gilgamesh, as he always does, underestimates Shirou like he does with every other person he faces. And loses because he refuses to use Aya against someone he considers a
mongrel.
Alright, here's the real segment. If Shirou had plot armor, Heaven's Feel wouldn't exist. In Heaven's Feel, Shirou doesn't get stronger because the story likes him. He gets stronger because Archer literally cuts off his own arm and gives it to him. A sacrifice Archer's only willing to make because he recognizes Shirou's going down a different path than he did. And even when Shirou obtains the arm, it's not an outright power-up. It's a ticking time bomb duct taped using soul magic by a priest that eventually wants to kill him. While the arm does give Shirou access to Archer's circuits, his experience, and his noble phantasms, the recoil he gets from using this is insane. So much so that if he tried to use his ultimate move from Unlimited Blade Works in this timeline, his body would shred him apart before he could even see the reality marble form. But even without doing that and doing smaller feats, his body is destroying him from the inside out, burning his nerves and countless blades erupting from his body. And the only thing preventing that from happening is another holy relic suppressing the connection. This is one of the worst endings we see for Shirou, as he ends up dying, same with Ilya, and his soul gets transferred into a puppet. If anything, Heaven's Feel proves how much Nasu hates Shirou, as he never gets a happy ending in any of the timelines. And we see this again in the Mind of Steel route, which is a variation of Heaven's Feel, where when Shirou contemplates killing Sakura to save everyone, he actually goes through with it, unlike the anime. We do see clips of what this would look like in the movie, however, displaying in my opinion one of the worst endings for Shirou, which alone should end the plot armor debate. In this route, he embodies Kiritsugu's ideals of justice the most, choosing to save the world and become like his father, cold, logical, and detached. Unlike his counterparts who want to save everyone in front of them, this Shirou wants to save everybody, period. This is also the version of Shirou that Archer wants to kill the most, and if fate really wanted to protect Shirou, this ending wouldn't exist. I don't blame you if you didn't read the visual novel. That thing's like 100 hours long. At that point, it's a glorified unpaid internship. Actually, it's worse than that. You have to pay $30 for it. But if you did actually read it, you'd know Shirou dies constantly. Like the universe personally hates him. You make one wrong choice and suddenly, Berserk rips him apart, Castor enslaves him, Kirei just kills him because he feels like it. Rider turns him into paste, he bleeds out, he gets shot, he gets stabbed, he gets mentally broken. At one point, Ilya has Berserk tear him apart and uses magic to keep him alive, when he's nothing more than just a head. If anything, he has a death subscription. And that's the part people miss when they only watch the anime. The visual novel makes one thing very clear. Shirou is not protected. So again, no, Shirou Emiya does not have plot armor. He has contracts, artifacts, and consequences. There's only one magic truly allowed to Shirou Emiya, and it's not plot armor. It's the ability to give form to what exists in his mind. Unlimited Blade Works isn't plot armor. It's a self-manifestation of his trauma, ideals, and hypocrisy, all in one. Plot armor protects characters from consequence, and fate does the complete opposite of this, taking the one thing Shirou believes in and forcing him to face it. Shirou doesn't survive because the story bends to him. He survives because he bends to the story. If you did like this video, please consider liking and subscribing. But until then, bye! See you next time! Hope you come back!